Hey, how's it going? One thing I haven't done in a long time, I haven't read from Rooms. And, for a while there, we got up to chapter 13. It was actually kind of a staple of my channel. So I did a live stream today. This is Sunday. I'll probably get this to post here in a couple of days. And um, so I thought, hey, it's Sunday evening. It's a good time to kick back, maybe do a little bit of reading because I don't have anything to put. I don't have my fire pit set up yet. So hey, let's do this. Let's get a little bit of reading in and see what we can do. Just kind of relax for a little bit. So chapter 14. If you haven't been watching, you can always look back on a previous chapter if you like. One thing he's gotten to know somebody new in town, Sarah, and he has somewhat romantic aspirations with her. However, she's less. She's been hurt apparently. But they're both pretty healthy people. They're both runners. They're both into fitness and everything. And she's a believer. So which is kind of neat that he's getting to know another believer. Um, so uh, so you know so let's just dive right in here. Chapter 14. Micah stepped inside and strode over to that coat closet door. He yanked it open and pulled the stack down from the closet shelf. Yes, answers right here, right now. A faded business card stuck out from under the first envelope. Archie's. He pulled it out. A handwritten note was on the back. Dear Micah, congratulations on finding the letters. Of course, if Chris followed my instructions, it shouldn't have been too difficult. There is only one guideline. Read them in order and only read one letter per week. Only one. Your great-uncle, Archie. Micah shook his head and smiled. The guy never failed to fascinate. The envelopes were numbered from 1 to 19 in the lower right-hand corner, almost too small to read. He trotted over to his overstuffed chair that faced the picture window, settled in, and opened the first letter. October 20th, 1990. Side note, I would have been 20 years old at this point. Dear Micah, our first letter together in the house has filled me with joy and anticipation. Some of my correspondence will be lengthy. At other times, the letters will be much shorter. I dare hope all will contain encouragement for your journey now begun. As I mentioned in my introductory letter, you will have to make a choice to face your past or not. And facing your past means more than just dealing with the memory of your mother's passing. There is more to deal with surrounding her death. Much more. More? No, he wouldn't go there again. Ever. Hadn't he finished that? But he couldn't stop shards of the memory from bursting into his mind. His dad standing over him, screaming over and over, What have you done to her, Micah? What have you done? Micah slammed the memory back into his dark corner. Get a grip. He pounded his leg with his fist. Come on, Archie. I need something with a little more hope than that. I expect by this point you've begun to understand what the home is. If not, then I'm afraid I'll be spilling a bit of the proverbial beans. The structure is far more than a home and will make a significant impact on your future if you allow it to. The home is a part of you, and you are a part of it to a greater degree than you can imagine. I designed it this way with help from a close friend. His singular ability and assistance makes this home extraordinary. Along with the healing of your heart and the trials that will entail, I pray you find rest as well. The Cannon Beach section of the Oregon coast has always been a place of peace. I trust it still is. I counsel you to soak in the music of the ocean, the accents of the seagulls crying, and finding a sand dollar still whole. Your great uncle, Archie. P.S. Please remember, Micah, one letter per week. I look forward to being together again in 7 days. Micah set the letter on the armrest, tilted his head back, and let out a small groan. Answers? Archie raised more questions than he'd answered. The house is a part of him? What's that supposed to mean? Face more than just reliving his mom's death? What? The memory room wasn't enough? Maybe the second letter would help. He smacked his edge on the palm of his hand three times in quick cadence. One a week? Sorry. He wasn't waiting another 7 days for the next cryptic letter about the mansion and its secrets. He slipped his forefinger under the top flap of the second envelope and stopped. Instantly, he was 7 years old again, sneaking out and opening his presents on Christmas Eve, while the rest of the family was snug in bed. Shrugging off the feeling of guilt, he ripped open the envelope. He wasn't a kid anymore. He sucked in a quick breath, held it, and yanked out the letter. The paper scraping free sounded like firecrackers. He looked around the room and assured himself it was okay. October 24th, 1990. Micah, I'm in a bit of a quandary with regard to how I should start this next letter or what type of forewarning I should attempt to impress upon you before you read the following words. For no matter how complete my effort may be, you will likely be a mite traumatized at the message it contains. Before I reach the portion of the letter I believe will elicit this reaction, let me assure you, I am just an ordinary man. By the time you read these letters, I will likely have been with my Lord Jesus for many years. Mike put down the letter. He wasn't in the mood to be shocked. He'd had enough surprises since coming to Cannon Beach to last a year. But how could he stop reading? I know you are reading this letter before I've intended you to. Please do not do this. Stay true to the schedule I instructed of 1 letter per week. I realize this might be difficult to adhere to. You'll want to race ahead and receive answers to your questions right now. It is a strength God has given to you to strive forward strongly in all that you do. But in this case, it is a weakness and a hindrance to truth. Please allow the process of being in this home to take the time it needs, that you need. Archie. Micah's heart jackhammered. He thought little could surprise him after what he'd been through already. But this was over the top. How could a man back in 1990 know he would disregard his request and open the second letter early? There was no logical explanation. A chill swept through the room, and the ticking of the grandfather clock at the top of the spiral staircase sounded like gunshots. He looked down at the envelope number 3. It mocked him, dared him to open it. It slid smoothly till a corner of the envelope caught on the twine that held the bundle of the letters together. He wrenched it free and ripped it open. October 25th, 1990. Dear Micah, stick with the order. Archie. He fudded Micah's body. He picked up letter number 4 and tore at it in sheer defiance. But his hands trembled and it took 30 seconds before he read it. When his eyes dropped to the page, his fear was confirmed. October 26, 1990. Dear Micah, 1 per week. Trust me, Archie. Micah closed his eyes and took deep breaths. In, out. This was beyond strange. First the shrine room, then the painting room, then the memory room. Now this. How? The man's been dead for 12 years. Sweat squiggled down his forehead. He glanced at his watch. 1 in the morning. Too late to call Rick. He was out of control again. Once more Archie showed his penchant for the strange twist. Not only with the house, but now with the letters. He rubbed his temples hard. What was the point of living in one of Rod Sterling's nightmares? Archie's letters were the straw. He was the camel. He didn't need any crushed vertebra. He could sell the place and get back to reality. A week later, Micah strode toward his deck with letter number 5. Grasped in his left hand, his right hand held the cedar letter opener like a sword. His heart pounded. He wanted to read the letter outside. For all he knew, reading would suck him into another psychotic room. This way he could at least process the letter before facing any new, unwanted expedition. He knew God could not be put into the tidy box that Micah had tried to squeeze him into these past 6 or 7 years. And this house certainly seemed to be the field of battle where the truth would be played out. So it was with expectation of the extraordinary that he opened the letter. He was disappointed. December 3rd, 1990. Dear Micah, I picked up my pen again. It is indeed a strange sensation, knowing if and when you read these letters, it'll be a long time in the future. Forgive me. I'm rambling and promised myself I would avoid that. Your heart is a sacred and magical thing, Micah. From it flows the wellspring of life. It's why the wisest man who ever lived said we must guard it above all else. You won't reach it by your intellect. The path to the heart is always by the spirits, and the path to the spirits is by the heart. Are you wealthy, Micah? To acquire a significant amount of money at a young age, elements of life must be neglected, often the heart. This is what I meant in my introductory letter when I said that if you are not yet 35, your heart has not been suitably guarded. No matter your current age, I imagine you have already experienced a number of extraordinary things in this home, some potentially frightening. And yet, if you're reading this letter, you've made the choice to press onward in your journey. This indicates your heart is coming alive again. Now I finally arrive at the lesson of this letter. It is impossible for man to serve both mammon and God with great affection, Archie. I'll need to dig up the word mammon. Pretty sure it has to do with money. Micah set down the letter and shook his head. Some lesson. He'd heard it since he first became a Christian. The love of money is the root of all evil and all that stuff. What did it have to do with him? So he'd made some money. That meant he was serving it? No way. He'd made it too young. In Archie's day, he doubted IPOs could make a young company over a multi-millionaire overnight the way it could today. He sighed and walked back inside. Might as well pack for the trip back to Seattle, even though he didn't have to leave till the next afternoon. It had been 15 days since he started working from the beach, and he was scheduled to show up for a full day of meetings on Friday. Traffic on I-5 was light on Thursday evening, and he clipped off the miles back to Seattle at 70 miles per hour without having to change lanes. By the time he reached Tacoma, the music on his CDs had grown stale, and he was tired of the late-night radio talk show hosts who all droned on about the same tired political issues. All right. First off, I've made that drive more than a few times. Never had that good of traffic, but I never done it on Thursday night. First off, but how you like that? Same tired political issues. What kind of environment are we in today? Moving on. His thoughts turned to Archie's letter. Guarding his heart? What did that mean? And guess what? 99% of the world wanted the fame and fortune he had. So he must already be guarding his heart on a Secret Service level. The pathway to the heart is always by the Spirit, and the pathway to the Spirit is by the heart. Archie's line sounded like something Rick would say. Micah rolled his eyes, pushed a button on his steering wheel, and let the sounds of classic rock drown out the questions that played big-time wrestling in his mind. God, I'm open to learning what I'm supposed to learn here. Wouldn't want to give me some answers, would you? Thought lit up on his mind like a flash of lightning. Get ready. Here ends chapter 14. What do you think? Micah's doing some really deep stuff now. This is it's kind of the big leagues, isn't it? And if you think about it, when we start following God, oftentimes what we do is we're doing is we're taking in milk, and this is his milk. I mean, you think about it, this is pretty heavy stuff. And I had a conversation with a friend not long ago. It was on Facebook. It was just on Facebook, private messaging. But he had somebody concerned with the concept of losing salvation, and this kind of brings me around to that a little bit. Brings us into mind the concept of losing salvation. And Micah had been a Christian in high school, and was following and was on that path of Christianity, and fell away from it in college. Now we know that a large percentage of kids when they go to college, are hit really hard and don't have the tools to stay with their faith, and Micah was one of them, and we know in part because of certainly a rough childhood. And with his father blaming him for his mother's death when he was just a little boy, things like that, definitely didn't help his strength on that kind of concept. But then you have with that you also have the money that came about, and doing things on his own, stuff like that. But now here he is coming back to the faith, and to me that has a lot to do with. I am not a person who believes that. If you've been saved, that I don't believe you can lose your salvation. If you've truly repented of what you've done, you can fall away and you can start making the same mistakes again, knowing that you shouldn't, and do it and just continue on that path, but you're still saved. At some point in time, you're going to be held accountable to a certain extent in your own mind. The conviction of Christ is going to come to you. Now, maybe not in a gorgeous house on Cannon Beach, Oregon. It's most a shack in Cannon Beach is pretty expensive, but so there's that. But just thoughts that are running through my head. This reading was actually kind of brought me back. Um, and I'm really grateful to do it tonight. So you have a great night, and this will probably post Tuesday or Wednesday, and so you have a good one, and God bless. I'll talk at you later with the next thing.